Welcome back to my Ghanaian Dream channel. And it is Sunday, the 30th of November 2025, a day after I now know that I have spent a whopping amount of 42,477 Ghana cedis, 97 pesos, equivalent to about 4,000 US dollars on my 1,000 capacity chicken house. So, are there some things I wouldn't have done if I had known the cost would go this high? Yes, obviously. Obviously, there are many things I wouldn't have done if I knew the cost would go so high. In addition, what lessons have I learned? What would I do differently if I were to construct another 1,000 capacity chicken house? I have exceeded my budgeted amount by 7,000 Ghana cedis, and this is really serious. I'm happy the housing is complete and I'm waiting for the day old chicks to now come in. However, I still need to share the lessons, some of them quite bitter lessons that I've learned, so that those of you who are also going to start your farms maybe now or into the future, you will take that into consideration before you start your own farms. The very first, and there are actually eight different lessons I've learned, which I wouldn't want to repeat again. And if you stay with me to the end of the video, I will give you a bonus point. So the very first lesson I've learned is that the location, the site for the farm, I should have found a more permanent place for the farm. Even though it is my own land and looking at the amount of money I have to invest in this, doing it on my own land where I stay is cheaper, and it gives me the opportunity to stay very close and be able to monitor everything that takes place. But there are a number of things that makes it quite a disadvantage, so that if I'm going to do this next time, I'll try to find a more permanent place than where I am doing it currently. One of the reasons are that whenever I am to purchase something like the roofing sheets, like decision on whether to build the store with blocks or to put a central pillar system that will raise a gable on the main or on the roof, all of these, because the facility is supposed to be a temporal facility, I did not take a decision that is supposed to be a permanent decision, so that I wouldn't have put a central pillar system to raise the gable, because the consultant said that in future, should I decide to put cages into this facility, it will be a problem simply because the pillars, the poles that have been erected in the middle of the chicken house to raise the building to give it a gable will give me problems. Another is the quality of roofing sheets, especially that if this was going to be a very permanent building, I would have gone in for a much more quality roofing sheets. Even though the carpenter says that these roofing sheets are also okay and it can last for more than 10 years, I would have gone in for a different roofing sheet that I guarantee will last much more longer. Additionally, I at least estimated the concerns that my neighbors will bring up, because when I was informing them before starting this particular chicken house, they had the impression that it was just going to be something a little bigger than what I started some time ago. But this one happens to be much more bigger. So even though it hasn't started giving them any problems, some of them are already raising concerns. You heard in one of my updates that one of them said they were going to report the case, the issue of the farm to the police and something like that. So if this particular structure was located on a more permanent place, far away from houses, let me say, I don't think these concerns would have been coming up at this early stage. So, among other things, these are some of the concerns that I have, that I wouldn't locate my farm where it is currently if I am going to construct a 1,000 capacity chicken house again. In fact, not here nor a similar place. So if you are going to build your chicken farm or a farm or something that can potentially have some nuisance, you should begin to look at a more permanent place and not in a place that you will have one or two issues with your neighbors, and also not in a place that you will be moving in the near future. So the next point is also similar to this, where If this place, and that is the second point, I should have gotten a more permanent place so that I will find water before I begin the construction of the chicken house. Water is very, very important to poultry and, in fact, all manner of farming. For that matter, I should have looked for a place that I can get a more permanent source of water. Even though where I live, the tap flows sometimes, but I least estimated that there will be a bigger issue of water. For this reason, I should have found a more permanent place where I will have either underground water through drilling of a borehole, or a river that doesn't finish, or a dam, or where the tap flows all the time, so that I wouldn't be suffering now to dig an underground tank to store rainwater and other types of water that I may be getting for my best. And that is the second one. The third point is that I should visit more farms so that I will learn how the structures are. I mean, the chicken houses, the designs, and whatever the chickens are going to be living in. I did that for two farms, and I should have done more so that I will learn more from the various structures that people are keeping their best in. Even though where I visited Silver Farms and another farm, I have learned how their structures are. It's in fact gave me the knowledge that this is exactly how I want my chicken house to be, so that the masons, the carpenters, and what have you wouldn't come to change it just by the way they know it should be. So by visiting farms, I was able to learn, and I would have visited more farms so that I can learn more. So that one of the two places that there are one or two arguments between myself and then the artisans, those ones wouldn't come in. For example, the concreting, for instance, they were saying that I need to mix five trips of a wheelbarrow to 2 bags of cement, whereas another farm suggested that they were using 4 trips of the wheelbarrow to 2 bags of cement, which means that their concrete will be much more richer than mine. I've done one or two constructions, and I know that we do not use we call it here tamalele, which is the white sand from the mostly the dam, to mix it in the concrete. But you can imagine that a mason laborers who were helping to do the mixing of the mortar, of the concrete, they were arguing that you can add that kind of fine sand to concrete to make it much more stronger. So, but for the fact that I know what I was doing, this would have been a major issue because they would have added that particular white sand to cement and then to the stones to mix it up to serve as concrete, which wouldn't have lasted as much as mixing only the concrete, only the sand, sorry, mixing only the aggregates and cement will do. So there is the need to visit farms so that one will learn exactly what you want on your farm, so that masons, carpenters, and what have you wouldn't come in with their suggestions that are not necessary. So that is the third point. The fourth lesson I have also learned is that the eye must be present at all times when the construction is done. I was there. Even though I was there, the carpenters, the masons, the laborers, and even people passers by will want to suggest one or two things for you to do. One of it is the carpenter suggesting that from the block work to the roof, it can be 6 feet or 7 feet or 7. So whereas the experts suggest that the minimum height of it should be at least 8 feet. You can go as high as 12 feet. If you don't go too high, then you go to 10 feet so that you will have enough space for ventilation to get your best. But they keep arguing, oh, when you raise it up to 8 feet, the building will be too high and a whole lot. So if I was not present and I was only giving money out to someone to do the work, and the person didn't also know exactly what I was doing, they will just do whatever they wanted and then they'll go away. They'll take their money and go away. So this is the fourth point. that if you are building such a structure, you need to know what you are about and you need to be present and you insist on they implementing exactly what you want them to do. Another point, which is number 5 lesson I've learned, is that you have to do a lot of window shopping, especially when you are in a big town like Tamale. You need to go around to do window shopping of the materials you are going to be using. My shopping for cement, window shopping for aggregate sand, then aggregate, that is the stones for mixing the concrete, then the sand for doing casting the blocks, among others, then the wire mesh, among others, then wood also. You need to go around to know exactly where you are getting them and at what price you are getting them. In Tamale, and I believe in most other places, you can go to a place, for example, the roofing sheets and then the roofing sheets and then the wire mesh. There's a place that they sell it for 280 Ghana cedis, whereas in another place, the same quality of wire mesh, they sell it to you for 400 Ghana cedis. That is how much 120 Ghana cedis difference. Then the roofing sheets, whereas in another place, they gave it to us at 580. Another place for the same quality, they give it to us at 700 Ghana cedis. So if you are going to do this kind of work and you don't spend time to go around to do your window shopping to know exactly where you're getting which material from, you will end up just going to the nearest place. Then you buy your things and not knowing that the cost has been hiked by as much as 100% of the cost you would have paid for in another place. Then the safe lesson I have also learned is that one has to look for and one has to have many, at least 3 different artisans at any point in time. Artisans, I mean masons, I mean carpenters, steel benders, and what have you. These people can charge you an exorbitant amount of money if they know they are those that you are dependent on for every work of yours. They know that you don't know the cost involved in what you are doing. They can charge you any amount and they will insist that that is the amount that is being charged normally. So having 2 or 3, and this I learned it from the government system where to procure something you need to go for at least 3 invoices before you can pick the best one, not necessarily with a cheaper cost, but the best one that can deliver with speed among others. So I would go in for at least the invoices of at least 3 artisans to compare prices. As I mentioned to you in one of the videos, the roofing, for instance, whereas another artisan, another carpenter gave us an amount of 26,000. Somebody gave us 20,000, another gave us 14,000. But eventually, due to the additional purchases of materials, the 14,000 guy we picked, it also ended up being as much as 20,000. Though we didn't get to 26,000, but 14 to 20,000 is a huge difference. And it was mainly due to the extra number of roofing sheets, extra number of wood, and extra number of poles we will have to get before the roofing was complete. Then also, the number 7 lesson I learned, if I'm right, is that I need to, one always need to get the basic tools, especially if you are going to construct a chicken house and to continue to be using those items like wheelbarrows, like shovels, like a scarp, like pickaxe. All of these things, we hired them, we rented them, and because of the nature of contracting that I did with these artisans, it took us so many days before we could finish using these items and return them. So you can imagine, we rent something that is supposed to be for let's say 2 days work, and the masons end up using it for more number of days because they know that more number of days is going to lead to more payment. And this leads me to the next point, which is about the 8th point. Some of the work, like the mason works, just like the filling of the gravel and the carpentry work, it should have been on contract. So that's I would say that okay, artisan sorry, so that I'll say that you artisan mason come, how much will you charge me to construct the 2 courses of blocks from digging putting of the concrete, and then building of the block works, everything that will be needed to be done with a mason. How much will you charge me to do this work? So I believe that if I had gotten a mason on that kind of contract, it would have, if not reduced the cost overall, but it would have been competitive, and the work too would have been done quite faster. Simply because I used to pay them by day, and by day they come in the morning. This is the work we have. Example, we have to dig the foundation and then put in concrete. So whereas you could have done it the same day, they said, okay, let's dig the foundation today so that tomorrow we'll come and put the concrete. Whereas we could put concrete and perhaps start building that same day, they tell you that let's put the concrete and go home. Even though the concrete work could finish around 12 noon, they will say they want to close, then come by the next day and now start the block works. And the block works also, instead of them to continue and probably finish it in 2 days, then they stretch it much more longer days. So beside the workmanship that you are paying for their service, you are also renting items that keeps longer with you before it is returned. Something like tank that you put in water for the work. Whereas you could have used 2 days to do the work, they stretch it to about 4 days. So you pay the mason, you pay the laborers who are helping, and you yourself still have to be around. So your man hours are being wasted. In addition, they are feeding, because down here when when you engage an artisan, you have to feed them. And so if it is supposed to be a contract, they will finish it fast and then go to another place to get work. But because it is a by day, they come, you give them water to drink, you give them food to eat. So the more number of days they stretch it, the more amount of money you spend on feeding, among others. So these are some of the lessons I've learned. By next time, I will make sure that I will get the mason on contract. Finish this for me. Tell me how much you are going to charge me. Then I will try and match it for you. If not, I'll now be left to the mercy of the mason's magnanimity. If not, he can take much more longer days than it is normal. Even with that kind of contracting system, sometimes some of them, like in 2 days of the masons work with me, he went to other places to work very early in the morning, then come here around 9 to 10 a.m. before they start this one. And then by 3, 4, they are done again and they are going. So I really didn't enjoy that aspect of the work. And I think that by contracting them, just like those filling the gravel and those also doing the carpentry works, it helps. Then even similar to the concrete works we did, the concrete works, they came in, we started it, got into a point at 3 p.m. They said that let's close and come the next day. And if you had just given everything to them on contract, they would have just finished it within a day and then they'll go. So I have so far I have so far explained about 8 different points. That includes the need to get a more permanent place when a structure like this is going to be constructed. The need to be present to ensure that the quality work is done. The need to also ensure that I do window shopping to get the cheapest shops in town, so that I can go there and buy my materials. The need also to always compare the rates of artisans before one selects the best artisan, and also use of experienced experts who will guide you in doing exactly what is required to be done, not leaving it in the hands of guest people and masons and carpenters to do whatever they think they want to do for a particular project you are embarking on. And also, I've mentioned basic tools, wheelbarrows, tanks, shovels, pickaxes, scarps, all of that. Once one has the intention of growing into a particular business that needs those things, one needs to get them available and not having to rent them all the time. And then also, they need to find a water facility before one begins the construction, so that the water will be available for you to use all the time, even after the construction is done. You continue to use it for the service for which you intend. In this case, I want to look after my chicken, and the water should be available for my chicken. So I shouldn't have started before now trying to find ways and means to get water. And then the last but not the least, I also mentioned that there is the need to visit farms to see the various structures they are using to keep their chicken. So the very very last point I want to add, which I said is a bonus, is that I have exceeded my budgeted amount by about 7,000 Ghana cedis. And it is not something I am so happy about because it has eaten into the money that will be left for me to take care of my birds. So should I have put in a budget ceiling? Because the budget I made was either for 30,000 or 35,000, but I missed 30, I missed 35, and I went to 42. Should I have put a budget ceiling? In actual fact, it is important. It is important to put a budget ceiling so that when you are working and buying all the materials, you know exactly where you should end and where you shouldn't go. And when you are negotiating with artisans, also, you know where you should end and where you should start from. So, doing work like this, it is not one which should take a long period of time. So, the budget variations shouldn't be so much. But once you have a budget, you should know that you can go up or you can go down. And when you are up like mine, I shouldn't be too worried. And when you are down, then you can say, when you are down, when you don't hit the budget ceiling, then you can begin to celebrate. So always do a budget that will help you, that will guide you in how you spend from one CD to the last CD you spend on a structure like this. So thank you so much. This is my Ghanaian Dream channel, and my farm, which I've registered now, is Buzaza Farms. And by God's grace, tomorrow I'll bring you more updates on what is going to be happening to my farm. Thank you so much. And if you haven't subscribed yet to this particular channel, please do so. If you think that the content I share is what you like, you please indicate the fact that you like it by clicking on the like button. And if you think there are others somewhere who need information like this to help them in their chicken farm and in other types of jobs they do, you can share to them so that the message will go far and my channel will grow. Thank you so much and see you tomorrow.